So let's start. So here we will talk about power dissipation, and rather this topic should be CMOS power dissipation. So what is actually happening? We are talking about your power dissipation, and of all the application, CMOS seems to be the best. The reason for that is its optimal power dissipation, or we can say it is having almost zero static power dissipation. So this chapter is, and sorry, this particular module is related to your power dissipation, that what is power dissipation and what are the components of power dissipation as far as your CMOS is being concerned. So here you can see that your first microprocessor is in 1971, commercial one, and up to 2000, so many microprocessors are there. In between, what is the observation? That your power has increased considerably. Why the power has increased considerably? The reason for that is we have number of transistors will increase. Here, your number of transistors is around 2.3K, and here around 10 million. And now in 2020, we are having around 1.5 billion. So in between, what is happening? Increasing trend is there. As far as power is being concerned, microprocessor power continues to increase. And what is actually happening? You are shrinking the size of the device from here to here. Your device size is shrinking like this, but your power is increasing. The reason for that is we are actually having more number of components in the given area. On the other side, we are also increasing the frequency of operation. The frequency here is around 2 megahertz, and frequency here is around 1 megahertz. Sorry, 1 gigahertz. 1 gigahertz, and so on. The frequency here is around 2 megahertz, I suppose, or 2 kilohertz. Now, power delivery and dissipation will be prohibitive. That means we cannot increase power, the dissipation is increasing. We are having the same batteries. If you can see, your evolution of devices is like this. The battery have evolved like this. That means there is no significant evolution as far as batteries are being concerned. So we are restricted to focus on algorithms and design techniques by which we can actually increase the efficiency of the systems. So one is algorithm, another is design. So we are looking for different topologies, how we can actually reduce the power dissipation. Now, you can see power density curve. Here you can see power density is how many watts per centimeter square of your processor your device actually consumes. And here you can also observe once again that it is having the curve like this. So that means we are increasing the number of transistors. They are actually giving some sort of trouble. What sort of trouble? The power increases. So that's why you find a fan on your CPU, processor, sorry, fan. So fan is not sufficient. So we have to use your nitrogen cooled servers so that we can get a very good sort of heat sinks and all. So all these problems are related to your power dissipation. And why are we actually afraid of power dissipation? Because if your system get heated up, the efficiency of the system degrades. The performance of the system degrades. Your biasing in which your chips are being designed will be degraded, and this affects the performance and severely degrade the performance. Maybe your system start malfunctioning. So in such cases, we look forward for other alternatives. So what is the context of this module? that I would like to make you people aware how things are actually being working, how things are being actually working as far as your devices are being concerned. What are the components of power dissipation? So they are actually comparing that in this year your Pentium processor is having the temperature of hot plate. Here we are having the temperature of nuclear reactor. Here the temperature is around rocket nozzle if heat dissipation is not there. And in the continuous trend, if we keep on increasing like that, then one day we will be coming near to sun's surface. We are coming towards sun's surface here. So that's the trend of the power. So this is a graph. It says that how your chip is being heated at different regions like that. Here you can see. So these buildings are actually the region of the chips which are being heated up. Here you can see so many things that your power density is not uniformly distributed across the chip. Yeah, some portions are required more often and some required less often. So the power sources which required more often get heated up across the chip, and tall buildings are there, and which are required less often, they are just small slums. So very good representation of the things in terms of buildings. And also it is being said that silicon is not a good heat conductor. So that means it will keep heat at a localized locations, thus giving you some sort of defects if not dissipated properly. Then maximum junction temperature is determined by the hot spots. Hot spots means these are hot spots. These are hot spots where temperature is severely high. So what you have to actually do, you have to look for how we can package them and how we can cool them with the help of heat sinks so that things does not go on the worst side. So that's what we are doing. So when we talk about CMOS inverter power, we have three different components. Your static power, this is your static power, then your dynamic power, then your dynamic short circuit power. So I will be discussing one by them, and later on we will discuss in a greater detail. So here you can see, first thing is static power. That means when your device is actually not performing any function. As far as your inverter is being concerned, if you look at the inverter, your characteristics are like this. These are ideal characteristics. Here you can see that if your input is less than this point, that means your device is off and your PMOS is on. So your capacitance is fully charged and there is no direct connection between your VDD and ground. So that means no power dissipation is there. Similarly, when your input increases the certain point, what happens? Your input goes like this. Input goes like this, your output goes like this. So again, your output is zero. That means your capacitance is discharged. If you look, this is your device. This is your CMOS inverter. Like this. This is your input. This is your equivalent load capacitance. And this is your output. So here you can see this is your VDD. And this is your ground. So here you can see that when your input is here less than a particular value, then this is not working and your capacitance will be charged. Okay, so there is no connection between VDD and ground, so there will be no power dissipation. Now when your input is high, this is off and this will discharge from this particular path. So that means there is no direct connection between VDD and ground. On the one cycle, this power is being used to charge. In the other cycle, that same power is discharged. So that means only for one cycle your power is utilized. And for a very short duration, your device is on. Both the devices are on. When both are in saturation, that is for a very short duration. And that is called your dynamic short circuit power. So static power is when device is not switching, input is static, and your device is giving you a stationary output. And dynamic capacitive power is due to charging and discharging of load capacitance. That is your dynamic capacitive power. And last but not the last least is dynamic short circuit power when both are on. And one more power is there, that is called leakage power. Leakage power. So I am giving you some example what is leakage power so that you get an idea about power dissipation. Normally what happens, let there be taps. So normally what happens, this is a tap, this is closed. So what is the assumption? That no current will pass through this. But as the technology is shrinking day by day, what is actually happening? Your device are not good enough because threshold voltage is reduced. So that means a very small voltage at this tends to lower the potential. That is called drain induced barrier lowering, DIBL. So because of drain potential, high drain potential, what happens? Your threshold voltage is being reduced and no longer your device is off. No longer this is source, this is your drain. So your electrons start flowing from here to here under the potential of this, and your device starts conducting. Although we have not applied anything on the gate, but device is conducting. So this falls under the category leakage power. This falls under the category leakage power. So this is the fourth kind of category. So normally we can have three kinds of power dissipation: static, dynamic, and leakage. In dynamic, we have two types: dynamic capacitive and dynamic short circuit. So these components should be remembered. Now, here you can see this is what I'm talking about, that when your input is less than threshold, in that case, we assume that there is no power dissipation. What leakage is there? Similarly, when this is off, then some sort of leakage is there. So they need to be avoided as far as device optimum performance is being concerned. So here you can see this is gate leakage. This is your drain leakage current. And because some sort of current is due to subthreshold conduction, so that falls under the category subthreshold current. Now, what do we mean by subthreshold current? Normally, we know that when your threshold voltage is greater than VT naught, then only your device will conduct. But as the devices are being scaled, your devices will conduct below threshold voltage. So that is called subthreshold current. If you look at the characteristics of devices these days, this is your VDS, this is your ID, sorry, this is your VGS, this is your ID, and this is for particular VGS, like this. Let VGS be particular voltage V. So we assume your device to be off somewhere. This is your threshold. So ideally speaking, your device should be off like this, but that is not the case. It is having some sort of slope. So this is called subthreshold slope, and below that the current is called subthreshold current. The slope of device below subthreshold in ideal conditions is 60 millivolt per decade. So whenever you design a new transistor, you try to meet this specification 60 millivolt per decade. That means suppose this is 0.3 volts. So 0.3 to 0.2 volts, the fall should be around 60 millivolt per decade. And this is being converted into logarithmic scale. So this is in logarithmic scale, so that we get a clear understanding of what is actually happening. So you just need to remember what is leakage power dissipation. So leakage is due to drain junction leakage current. Drain means you can see this is drain, this is your source. So you have applied certain potential here. So because of potential, some sort of depletion is there like this. This is your gate. So although you have not applied anything on gate, then what actually happens? This is your goes into reverse bias because this is N plus and this is your P and this is grounded. Basically, this is grounded. So drain is positive. So what happens? This is being grounded like this. So when you have positive on this, so we get depletion region. So because of that, some sort of current dissipation is there. So drain leakage, gate leakage is also there, and other is subthreshold current, so which I have shown you. So these are the components of leakage. So subthreshold current is a dominant factor, and also they have shown that sometimes what happens, your current is a dominant factor and all increase will exponentially with the temperature. So leakage as a function of temperature, this is being explained in excellent way here, that if your current is 90 millivolt per decade roll off, so each 255 millivolt increase in VT gives 3 orders of magnitude reduction in leakage, but adversely affects the performance. So this one is VT is equal to 0.4 volts, and when you actually increase the temperature, then this, so what happens, your this particular subthreshold slope decreases, and this adversely affects the device. That means your device, when your device gate potential is 0, still this much current is being dissipated. Normally it is at this particular point, but now this comes into microamperes. So this is in picoamperes, now it comes into microamperes. Why? Because we have changed the slope. So slope should be near to this 0 and not like this. So because of temperature, what happens? This has shifted, slope has shifted in this direction. So now what is the value of the slope? 90 millivolt per decade now. So because of that, there is increase in threshold. So, and because of that, there is a lot of leakage in this. So you are not supposed to remember these things mathematically, but you should get the idea what is subthreshold conduction, what are the components, and how things are actually varying. So they have given various things, that this is the temperature and this is your leakage currents, and when you have different values, then what is the exponential increase. So this is being explained here like this. Okay. That means if you operate at 0.1, then your device goes like this. If 0.13 and so on. So these are the certain things regarding leakage. Next is dynamic power consumption. So we have discussed about leakage. Dynamic means your power dissipation goes like this, which we have already discussed. And this is basically pull up. Why? Because this process is actually charging this capacitance. So how this transition happens? When your input goes from high to low, then your output goes from low to high. So this is called pull up transistor. Load is called pull up, and your driver device is called pull down device. So when the input is zero, now we are looking for expression, how you can derive the expression for power dissipation of the devices. So when your input is at logic 0, under this condition, the PMOS is in conducting, NMOS is in cutoff mode. That means this is conducting and this is off. So your device goes like this. So power dissipation in the PMOS transistor is being given by IL. That means what is the current in this device is equal to VDD minus V naught. VDD minus what is the current voltage at the output. The current and the output voltages are being given by IL is equal to CdV naught by dt. This you already know that your Q is equal to CV. Q is equal to CV. Equal to CV. And Q can be written as DI, sorry, I is equal to dq by dt. I is equal to dq by dt. So here your I is being replaced by dq by dt, or q is replaced by I dt, and dt goes here. So this expression is like this. Now we look forward for your energy dissipation in the PMOS device. So your energy dissipation is your power, integrating power for the infinite range. So your power is CLBD, this current into this voltage, and normally constant things comes up. So your energy dissipation comes out to be EP is equal to 1 by 2 CLVDD square. So this is the energy stored in a capacitor when the output is high. So if somebody asks you what is the energy being stored in the capacitor when the output is high, this expression is there. EP is equal to 1 by 2 CL VDD square. And how it comes? We have this current, and later on this current multiplied by your this voltage, what is voltage, and so on. So CL and what is change in voltage and so on. So we solved it and we get this particular expression. Next is when the input is high and output is low. So when your input is high, this is off. So what happens? Your capacitance discharges. Your capacitance discharges. So your energy dissipated in this case for NMOS is being given by CLVDD square. So your overall energy is being given by energy during charging using PMOS, then dissipation through NMOS. So we add these two energies. So this is the energy being drawn from the your power source. So once again, I give you an idea. Suppose this is your bucket of water. So this is being filled from here, and this is being dissipated, drained from here. So that means what is the total being drained? So what is coming here and what is going here? That's all. But that is analogy. In actual things, it goes like this. Because we are talking about in terms of cycle. But actually, your power dissipation is energy from the source is CLVDD square. Now, your power dissipated in terms of frequency can be written as energy is equal to power into time. So power is equal to energy by time. So power is equal to frequency into energy. So frequency is known to you and CL VDD square. So this is a very important expression that your average power, that means for two cycles, is being given by F CL VDD square. This gives us an idea how your power is actually being dissipated. So this is the main motive of today's class, and I hope you get a fair idea how we can derive the power dissipation. Some of the components we have discussed. So we will discuss from here in the next class. So what we have discussed in this class, we have discussed about your components of power dissipation and why power is important. In components of power dissipation, we have discussed that there are three different kinds of power dissipations. One is your static, another is dynamic. In dynamic, we have dynamic short circuit and dynamic capacitive. Short circuit means when both are on. So when both are on, there is direct connection between VDD and ground. And dynamic capacitive means discharge from the capacitive when your device is on. And other is your leakage power. So these are the power things. And in the later half of this class, we have discussed about your derivation of your power. So that's all for the today. And now you are free to ask the questions. If you have any questions, you can ask.